Hello, welcome. Great to have you here. I'm going to give people a second to trickle in, but so excited to have you joining us. Thanks for being here and for making the time tonight. As you're joining, we'd love for this to be interactive, and we'd love it if you introduce yourself in the chat, so that so that this is interactive, and two, so that we can tailor the content to you all. So would love to hear um, what made you curious to join today and how old your kids are. And we'll give people just a second to trickle in. Um, but excited to have you all here, and we'll get started in just a minute. So I'm sure we'll have more people joining us soon, and Sophie from our team will also be joining me. But would love for you guys to introduce yourself, and while you're doing that, I'll introduce myself so that you know who I am, and we'll let people trickle in and give everyone a second to arrive. But I'm Jules. I started at Curious Cardinals as a mentor when I was a student at Northwestern, and now I'm on our full-time team where I support our parent community. And so I'm super excited to have the chance to talk to you all today, and share a little bit about Curious Cardinals and who we are and what we do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started, though I'm sure we'll have lots more people trickling in the next few minutes. But grateful for you all are here today, and if you want to introduce yourself in the chat, I would love to know who you are, where you're zooming in from, how old your kids are. Thanks for introducing yourself. We'd love to um, hear about what your 14-year-old needs, and this is super helpful for me as we think about what the content is. I'm going to share a wide variety of student stories and kind of give you a high-level overview of what Curious Cardinals is, who we are, what we do, but want to be able to customize it to you all, and then we'll have time for questions at the end, so you can send questions in the chat throughout. And then we'll have dedicated Q&A time at the end where you can ask questions in the chat or unmute yourself and ask questions live. So excited to be spending this time with you, and love to see the middle and high school representation very much in our age range and demographic. So this is all things that everything we share tonight should resonate, but I'm grateful you all are here. And without further ado, I will share my screen and we'll get started. So welcome to Raising Curious Kids. We're going to talk about Curious Cardinals and give you just an introduction and overview as to who we are and what we do. So Curious Cardinals is a one-on-one mentorship platform. We match K through 12 students to near-peer mentors who are college students and recent grads. And we help them work on academics and on passion projects, and I'll kind of dive into more of what that looks like in the coming slides. But our goal is really to help students do real meaningful work and connect their interests to their learning. And so they're doing passion-based, project-based learning, and that's the heart of what we do. And to share a little bit about how we got here, I'll share our founding story. So Curious Cardinals was founded 5 years ago by Audrey and Alec. They were sent home from Stanford during the pandemic, and Audrey started tutoring kids online. And what she noticed was that the kids were disengaged and uninspired. They were regurgitating information that they memorized for Friday's tests, but they didn't understand why any of it mattered, and they weren't connecting their learning to their interests. And so she started doing just that. And then one student asked for math help, but Audrey wasn't as passionate about math, so she called Alec, the Stanford aerospace engineer. And instead of drilling math equations, Alec showed the students how math makes airplanes fly, and that's when they realized this is how learning should work. And so they started recruiting their most passionate peers And what started as one one-on-one relationship has grown, and over the past 5 years, we've worked with more than 10,000 students, and we have a network of 1,000 mentors actively mentoring on our platform. And we'll dive into who the mentors are and the type of work they do in the coming slides. But that's hopefully just a little bit of an overview as to how Curious Cardinals came to be. And if you're wondering what actually is Curious Cardinals, I'll share kind of how the model works in these 4 pillars that we can distill it down to. The first is matching. We put a lot of care into matching students and mentors based on subject matter expertise, but also based on interest and personality and lived experience. So on our consultation calls, if you speak to someone on our family admissions team, they would ask you a series of questions about your kid. They would ask what their strengths are, what their areas for growth are. They would ask their favorite subject, and then they'd ask what do they like to do when no one's telling them what to do? What are they interested in? What are they passionate about? They'll ask a series of those passion excavation discovery questions. And with that information, they're able to make what we say is the magical matches. So if you come to us and you say, I have a 7th grade girl who needs help in biology, but she also plays volleyball and she loves Taylor Swift, we can find the Stanford mentor who's a volleyball player who loves Taylor Swift, and then they have those multiple nodes of connection. So it's not just she needs help in biology or wants to do this biology research paper, but actually having those relatability, points of nodes of connection and contact points is baked into our model and the work that we do.
Hey, don't they have these like
And then the second part of our model is structure. So every session has a framework. Mentors help students set clear and achievable goals so progress doesn't feel vague or invisible. Sessions start with check-ins, so often mentors will do some rosebud thorn activity with students and ask them how their week is going and check in with them. But beyond just being a chance for students to get to hear from mentors, they get to hear what the Stanford kid is, what their rosebud thorn is, and understand kind of all the different options of what their future could look like. And then the last piece of it is really inspiring a love of learning. We hope that what our passion is, what our North Star is helping students find their North Star. And so we want to help them find their why and connect their learning to their interests, so that school feels like it matters and so that they can feel fulfilled in their project-based, passion-based learning. And so that's kind of an overview of Curious Cardinals and what that tangibly looks like and how we support students. We have 2 main tracks at Curious Cardinals. One is academic mentorship. And so that's kind of like your typical tutoring, except we say tutoring is the T word because it has a connotation of being transactional. And this is about so much more than Friday's test. It's about connecting learning to your interests, developing confidence and resilience, learning how to advocate for yourself in your classes, developing those study strategies and skills that will last a lifetime. So I'll share when I was a mentor, I worked with a student named Estelle. Estelle and I started working together when Estelle was in 6th grade. She's now an 8th grader, and I helped her with her English class. And yes, she went from failing all of her classes to making all A's, and that's amazing. But really, the growth was seeing her learn how to advocate for herself, and learn what it looks like to structure her life in a way that lets her do the work and get the reading done. And yes, that leads to better grades, and she was able to learn the material, but the reason she learned the material is because she connected her interests to her passions. So we made Shakespeare analogies to Gossip Girl and Taylor Swift, and that's what that actually looks like in practice. And then our more popular offering is our passion project offering, and within that we kind of have 4 main pillars, which we'll show different student project examples of. But the first is building a portfolio, and so that's really common for our engineering students and our art students who want to do a series of projects. The next is doing research, and so that can look like competing in science fair competitions. It can be getting research published. We've had students publish in a variety of journals. And so there's lots of options on the research front. It's a very popular track. And then another option is to launch an organization. So that can be a business, it could be a nonprofit, it could be a club at school. And then the 4th pillar within that is content creation. And that could be a YouTube channel or a podcast or a vlog. The options are endless, and we live in a world of content. So There's lots of possibilities there. And then kind of supplementary to those two things is executive functioning support. So learning time and task management, improving focus and concentration, and just developing those skills that are necessary to thrive in life. And then pathfinding. So if your student comes to us and they don't yet know what they want to do, that's totally okay. They can go through our passion excavation process with our team or with their mentor, and we can understand what they might be interested in and help them find a passion that they want to dive deeper into. They don't have to come to us with a project on day one. So that's an overview of the work that we do with students, and I'll share a couple project examples to give you an idea of what that actually looks like. So this is Armand. Armand is in 3rd grade. He lives in the Bay Area, and he invented a copper bar of soap that never expires and never runs out, and it doesn't require water. So he designed it for areas where water is scarce. And he is currently in the production development stage. He has a prototype and he is working on getting this out into the world. And that's just one student of someone who will probably do a portfolio of projects with us. And then this is Karis. Karis is an 8th grader from Seattle. She started a youth-led dementia care nonprofit. So she did some research and had some family interactions and realized that play is a really powerful part of dementia care patients' treatment, but it's often not easily integrated into the care that they receive. And so she started an organization where she and her peers go into these memory care facilities and they do these activities with patients, and it's another great example of what a student can do. This is Sloan. Sloan is doing research on cleaning up lower space orbit, and she published a mission concept with NASA. And so this is another option, kind of more in that research track of what students can do. And then I'll share Josh. Josh has kind of done it all. Josh started with us, and he came to us as a student who was affected by clubfoot and wanted to start an organization. Through his organization, he wrote blog posts, he did research, he had an internship. So he kind of took all of the project pillars and combined them through the years of work that he did with us, and now he's a student at Penn. So those are 4 different student examples, 4 of the 10,000 students we've worked with. Then hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of the type of work your student could do if you were to work with us. And I'll break it down even more by sharing rows and showing what that actually looks like in practice, how we support students. So Rose has a profitable jewelry business, and we'll break down the process of how she got there. So Rose kind of fits very nicely within what we call our magic project formula, where we take a student's interest and we think about the skills they want to build and the medium that they want to share it with the world with, and turn it into a project. So Rose came to us and we started with her curiosity. We asked what she was interested in, and she had a love of jewelry. She is a fashionista, girly girl who loves pink. And we took that and we said, what if you could turn that into a real project of substance? And then we asked her, what are her superpowers? Where does she thrive? What are her strengths? And she has a natural ability to influence her friends. Listen to her, they like her recommendations, and we told her that she could turn that into selling, into marketing, and develop out that skill of being a businesswoman. But we didn't make her do it alone. We gave her Phoebe. Phoebe was the president of the fashion club at Brown. She now works for Louis Vuitton in Paris, and so Phoebe is an fashionista, interdisciplinary, relatable figure that Rose can have, guiding her along this journey of developing her business. And the result of all of Rose's hard work, last year as a freshman in high school, she had more than $10,000 in revenue, and she donates a portion of the profits to a maternal health care nonprofit that's really close to her heart. And this is just what she did in freshman year, so think of how far she can take this over the next few years, developing out this business as she continues to scale it. She's partnered with Love Shack Fancy, she does trunk shows, so this is just one example of what that path actually looks like broken down. And really what differentiates, we have an opportunity for students, whether or not they're working with a mentor, to build towards something. So Rose was one of our finalists last year in our Timeless Skills in an AI Era pitch competition. This is open until May 9th. So if you have a student who's working on a project, it's not too late to register. The finalists will pitch to industry-leading judges. Our judges this spring are Zarna Garg, the author and comedian, Michael Seibel, the former president and CEO of Y Combinator, the startup incubator, and Laura Modi, the co-founder and CEO of Bobby, which is the formula brand that reached $100 million in revenue in its first 18 months. And so this is a really great opportunity of giving students something external to work toward, and it's sponsored by google.org. So winners will earn $2,500, and it's a really great opportunity for your students. So would highly encourage them to check it out and apply. It's one of the many things we do to try to give students external deadlines and things to work toward, so that their passion projects have something to drive them toward. And really what makes us different is our mentors, and the quality of our mentors in the match. Our mentors are the best of the best. They are Rhodes Scholars, D1 athletes, presidents of clubs, and I'll share two examples of two of our amazing mentors that we have 1,000 mentors actively mentoring in our network. This is Yusuf. Yusuf is a graduate student at Columbia University. He's studying biomedical engineering, and he supports students in math and science. And this is Cece. Cece went to Dartmouth, and she is now an award-winning filmmaker who could teach your student how to make a film. And those are just two of the types of people that your student could work with. Our mentors are college students, grad students, and recent grads. So they're relatable people who are not too far along ahead of your child, who can kind of show them the path and guide them along the way, and be someone who isn't mom or dad nagging them. And that's just kind of an overview of who our mentors are. And if you're thinking, are you sure you have reliable college students? Our mentors go through a very thorough vetting and application process. It's a very competitive process, and they go through multi-stage interviews. And then they get onboarding and training support from our team. More than half of our team is former educators. Like Sophie on this call is a former teacher. And then we have people who went to Stanford and Harvard's graduate schools of education, developing out what the mentorship should actually look like and what the best structure is, so that our college students can do what they do best, which is engage with and inspire your kids in their subject matter expertise, and have that scaffolding and support from our team. And then our mentors also have access to a very well built out resource library, and they get feedback and reviews from our education team. One of my favorite emails to get when I was a mentor was my monthly digest email that told me everything I was doing well and everything I could be doing better. And so we have an ongoing feedback loop with our mentors, and they're in close contact with our full-time team. And I'll hand it over to Sophie to share a little bit about how mentorship works if you wanted to get started.
Fantastic. Well, we can walk through some of the steps and what Curious Cardinals looks like. So, how it works is that students and mentors are meeting for an hour every single week. All of our sessions, of course, are one-on-one, and you can schedule these sessions through the platform. And then after every session, parents receive session notes. So this is an in-depth overview of what was covered, what the student's strengths and areas for improvement are, and then clear action items that the student is responsible for in between sessions. And so those notes are really popular among our parents of teenagers who sometimes get one-word answers when they ask how school was. And so you'll have a very clear picture of what they covered. You also receive monthly progress reports as well as quarterly engagement reports, all in the effort of giving parents full visibility into what their students are accomplishing and what's coming up next. And then what's really big at Curious Cardinals is goal setting. On a regular basis, we encourage mentors and students to revisit the goals that they've set and ensure that they're still serving them. And we always encourage students to set specifically SMART goals. If all of this sounds great, then we encourage you to sign up for a initial consultation call. So you'll speak with the family admissions team, which includes me and a couple of our colleagues. We'll include the link to do so in the chat. It's a 30-minute consultation call where we ask not just about your students' academics and extracurriculars, but what they like to do in their free time when no one's telling them what to do, or what are the topics they can't stop talking about at the dinner table, to really understand your student holistically, so that we can make the absolute best match possible. We look for as many nodes of connection as we can. And then from there, you'll start meeting with the mentor on a weekly basis. And we always start with a 2-week evaluation period that lets you try it out and make sure the mentor match is perfect. And then you'll start meeting consistently.
Love it. And on that note, I will open it up to Q&A. Sophie and I are here to answer your questions. I just sent the link to book a call with our team in the chat, and happy to answer any questions anyone has about mentorship and getting started with Curious Cardinals. You can ask in the chat. Feel free to unmute and ask questions live. You have our undivided attention, so we'd love to answer any questions you might have. The best age to join? That's a great question. We work with K through 12 students, and most commonly we work with 7th to 11th graders, so those middle and high schoolers. But there is no age too young. The earlier you can start, the better. We like to start with students when they're doing things that are authentically related to their interests and they don't feel like they have to do things for college or to look good. And so if they can start earlier, that's always better. I would say for younger students, it's a lot more individualized. So for our lower school students, they often are gifted and talented, or they're meeting in an adaptive cadence. They might do 2 30-minute sessions instead of 1 hour. But Sophia is taking calls with students as young as 4. So there's no age that's too early, though most of our students are in middle school and high school. Do we help develop personality too? Yes, this is a holistic mentorship service. That's a great question. And so I think kind of to the point that I was sharing with Estelle, who is the student I worked with, and I worked with her when she was in middle school on her English class. We worked on bringing up her grades in English and in her other classes, but more than that, we worked on developing out her advocacy skills, her executive function skills, and all of those things led her to be more confident in herself. She went from failing her English class to then having all A's in all of her classes. And that process is not just the process of academics and showing up and learning how to study. It's the process of learning how to email your teachers when you miss class and you need to catch up instead of just letting it go. It's the process of learning how to come into class prepared and confident so that you feel prepared for class discussions and you're ready, instead of feeling like you're lost. And so I think all of the personality things kind of come along with the journey. Sophie, I don't know if you have anything to add on that front.
I think you said it perfectly, and I think it's so helpful to hear from Jules's mentorship experience. But I'll just mirror what you said is that mentorship is holistic. The reason that we match not just based on subject matter interest and also on personality and shared interest outside of academics or the passion project goal is for this reason, so that students can really be paired with a mentor that they see themselves in. So, short answer, yes.
Love it. And then to answer the other part of your question, most of our sessions happen virtually. We're a primarily remote platform. Occasionally, if the mentor is the right fit and happens to be in the same area as you, we can, on some occasions, accommodate for in-person sessions, but we really prioritize the mentorship match. And so most of our sessions happen virtually. If you happen to be in New York City or in Palo Alto, there can be rare instances where students and mentors will meet in person, but most of the time we have students and mentors meet virtually. But that doesn't mean that life is an amazing thing. I've been able to meet some of my former students in person, just by happenstance, and so we work together on Zoom for our mentorship sessions, but we've been in the same place at the same time, and so I've gotten to meet some of the students I've worked with. And it's pretty individualized and personalized. So if you were to schedule a call with someone like Sophie, she would ask a lot of questions and make the match based on everything you share about your student and everything she knows about our mentors. And then we would prioritize that best fit. To answer the next question, how many hours of homework are needed between the sessions to complete work? Again, we're a personalized platform, so there's not a one-size-fits-all answer. Every student and every mentor relationship will be different. It really depends on the goals that you set out to complete and achieve. It depends on what your students' availability and schedule looks like. If you have a student who can put in a lot of time between sessions and you know that they'll do the work, then they can achieve more in a shorter time frame. If you have a student who's really busy and you know that they're not going to be able to do work between sessions, then you just need to be honest with our team and let us know up front so that we can communicate that to the mentor, and answer kind of that question. I know that's a broad answer, but it really varies. Sophie, would you mind putting the pricing link in the chat? The pricing is dependent on the package that you select. And so generally speaking, sessions are around $95 per hour for 4 sessions a month. But there's more information about our pricing that Sophie will share in the chat. Another great question about the focus shifting to AI, and helping students navigate the best use of AI to achieve their goals. Yes, we definitely can help students think about how to use AI, and it really depends on the project that they're using and who your student is. Our philosophy as a company is that we like to use AI to amplify, not replace. And so we apply that to the work that we do with students. So we don't want students to put their homework into ChatGPT and have ChatGPT spit out the answer, but we can empower students to learn how to use tools, whether that's Notebook LM, which is an amazing tool from Google, that works and helps students think about what their study strategies are. If your student was working on an app and wanted to learn how to use Claude Code, there are specific use cases where AI has a place in mentorship, but really for K through 12 students, it's super personal and we want to develop the skills first. So if you come to us and say, I want my kid to learn how to use AI, we can certainly help them navigate how to use AI in the best, most responsible way. And then as a platform, we have AI integrated, but we really believe in the human connection and mentorship we think about what humans are best suited to do. And what AI is best suited to do. So it's super personal again. And just if you were to have a call with our team, be honest about what you're looking for, and we can make sure we find a mentor who shares that philosophy. Any other questions we can answer for anyone? Well, if there aren't any other questions, Sophie and I will stay on. If you have any other questions, I'll let Sophie share the link to schedule a call in the chat one more time. We're here. We're happy to answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, we're grateful that you are spending time with us. Yes, we do sessions over the summer and during the school year. That's definitely an option and a possibility. Um, Generally, we have students and mentors meet once a week on our platform. That's what we've seen has been best in our 5 years of working with 10,000 students. We see that weekly consistency is best. But if you wanted to do a more intensive course over the summer and add more sessions, that's always an option. And Amit, I'm not sure if we have any in-person mentors in Seattle. We would have to see what your student is interested in and then evaluate from there and see if we have the right fit. And again, we're here if you have any other questions, but thank you for spending time with us tonight. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about Curious Cardinals, and happy to answer more if anyone has any additional questions. Well, thank you all for joining us. We hope that you schedule a consultation call and sign your child up for Curious Cardinals. We'd love to work with them. Have a good night, everyone.